Hey, soccer fans, welcome back to the Feed the Fire podcast. I am your host, Nick, and in tonight's episode, it's all about the money, 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 money. Yeah, that's right. The Chicago Fire have extended their official partnership with Magellan. They have even got a kit sponsor. No more blank space on the front of that white jersey. And we're going to tell you all about that sponsor. We're also going to talk about, speaking of money, 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 we're talking about the latest Chicago Fire transfer. So stay tuned for all of this and more. Hey, soccer fans, welcome back once again to the Feed the Fire podcast, where we are talking all things Major League Soccer and the Chicago Fire. I'm your host, Nick, and I want to thank you for joining us again. A couple programming announcements. If you are not already following along on Spotify, make sure you do so, or wherever you get your podcasts, because we've got our exclusive featured guests there, John Donovan, giving his takes. Also, programming announcement, we will hopefully in the new year be moving the YouTube show to YouTube podcasts, and it'll be part of, I believe, Google Music or YouTube Music. So make sure that you're subscribing, following along, or at least getting it wherever your podcasts are so you don't miss an episode. But in the meantime, when we do move the podcast from YouTube to the YouTube podcast, we'll be putting a few more videos up. So definitely keep that in mind. I've got a few that are just sitting on my editing board, and once the holidays are over, those are going to get posted without a doubt. We'll have some good content going into the new year for you. But with those announcements out of the way, we need to send a big congratulations out to the Columbus Crew on their third MLS Cup championship. Congrats to the fans, the players, the city, to everyone involved with the club. In the black and gold there. Loved their opening tifo of the original black and gold, taking a shot at opponent LAFC there. It was a really, really entertaining game. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the second half live, but I did go back and watch it, and it was entertaining throughout. But the first half, especially, the way Columbus came out and controlled possession, tempo, style, everything in that game, doing all they could to prevent LAFC from breaking out on the counterattack and creating the types of opportunities that they wanted playing within their game was fantastic. And a lot of people have criticized the Crew and Darlington Nagbe in particular for just playing the ball horizontally or laterally. But you know what? That was the perfect game plan for this LAFC team that likes to beat teams off the counter. Again, if you want to compare it to NFL, then the opposing team can't beat you if you have all the possession. So that's kind of how the Columbus Crew approached this game against LAFC, and it played out exactly like they wanted it to. And we even heard Steve Cherundolo say it was playing out the way he thought it would, but LAFC just couldn't counter, just couldn't adjust to that. They get a goal back in the second half, but not enough to really threaten and make it an extra time PK type of game. Congrats to the Columbus Crew on it. I got to say, I tweeted it out. I have never jumped off of my seat because of an assist, but man, for that goal, for that second goal, the assist was absolutely brilliant. A through ball from Columbus's defensive line all the way into the opposing box, practically breaking 3 or 4 lines of defenders. Incredible play. I jumped up. My kids are looking at me. My wife comes running in from the kitchen. She's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Just one of the greatest passes in MLS Cup history. That's what happened." So again, congrats to them. To tie it back into our hometown Chicago Fire, though, now that the 2023 season is over, the 2024 season is already underway as far as the gamblers are concerned, and BetOnline actually put out their odds. And get this, shocker here, the Chicago Fire, the odds today are 150 to 1. They are the third worst team when it comes to the odds. TFC also at 150 to 1. Toronto and Colorado Rapids at, I want to say 200, 250 to 1. So if you look at the full range of the odds, it's not too different from how the table was at the end of this season, with the obvious exception that they're giving Inter Miami 5 to 1 odds, the favorite to win. So Chicago Fire got their work cut out for them to get back to the playoffs and to change the minds of the odds makers. But what the Chicago Fire have done to start changing people's minds is they have a new left back. The Chicago Fire have worked a deal with the Colorado Rapids, and this news just broke earlier today, Tuesday the 12th. Thank you, Alex Calabrese, or if it didn't break today, it broke yesterday, that's for sure. Thank you to Alex Calabrese of Men in Red. Make sure you go check him out for all your Chicago Fire news and check out their whole news network there. The Fire are sending Miguel Navarro and $450,000 in GAM, $225 for the 2024 season, $225 for the 2025 season, to the Rapids in return for Andrew Gutman, who is expected to sign an extension through 2026. So again, the Fire are sending left back Miguel Navarro and general allocation money, cash, to the Colorado Rapids in return for Andrew Gutman for the next 3 seasons. What do you think, Fire fans? I mean, there's a little bit of that nostalgia factor with getting back a player who came up through the Fire Academy who didn't want to sign with Nelson Rodriguez and jump ship to Celtic. And then when he did come back to the league, the Fire, or FC Cincinnati, were forced to pay the Fire his rights. And then he moved to Red Bull in Atlanta and played pretty well in Atlanta, and then over to Colorado. And now he's back home. And he actually tweeted out earlier that, thank you to the Colorado Rapids for helping me go back home. So I think this is a really great feeling. People are speculating that it shows how the Fire as an organization and how they're treating their players, or their attitude towards their players from the front office, is vast improved. I don't know if I want to go that far, because one player came back to the club that he kind of grew up in. But at the same time, it is great to see what I think is an improvement at the left back position. I'm going to give this trade. I was asked this online on Twitter. Go check out our Twitter thread at Glasshouse Soccer, and go check out Burgundy Wave for all things Colorado Rapids. They have a lot more takes on this deal. I gave this a B minus type of a grade here. It's not some huge improvement. It's not some massive steal by the Chicago Fire. And similarly for the Rapids, I think they are getting the worst of the two players, but they're getting $450,000 in GAM. And as Jason Maxwell put online, you can follow him at Rapids Jason. The Rapids traded $400,000 of GAM and an international slot for 2023, plus up to $150,000 a GAM more based on performance for Gutman for 1,000 minutes of play. So now they're trading Gutman and getting $450,000 in GAM and Navarro. So if you look at it in dollars and cents, they about broke even on GAM plus or minus 100,000 and got Navarro for free, essentially. So thanks to Jason Maxwell for breaking down those numbers. So this was a really good financial move for Colorado. Get a proven MLS player, albeit, as we Fire fans know, one with a bit of a temper, one who did not get forward and contribute to the attack the ways the Chicago Fire wanted him to. But maybe new Colorado coach Chris Armas can get that out of Navarro a little bit, depending on how he wants him to play. But also for the Chicago Fire, it is an upgrade at the position. You get Andrew Gutman, who is now an MLS veteran, 27 years old, and someone who does contribute. If we can have Andrew Gutman come back home, as he said, to Chicago and play like he did with Atlanta, it would be a huge improvement and a good bump for the Fire. I was texting with John Donovan about this, our featured guest here on Feed the Fire, and he, in his mind, this is a great move because, again, in John's mind, Miguel Navarro cost the Chicago Fire maybe 3 to 6 points this season, 3 to 5 points this season, and none more of a boneheaded play than against Charlotte at the end of the season to just trip Enzo Capetti in the box, let their instigator get under his skin, draw the penalty kick. It's not like he was trying to make a play. He just flat out took his ankles out. So based on those kind of boneheaded moves, John's thinking, hey, we're gonna pick up, a win and a draw, maybe 3 to 5 points, just the fact that Gutman won't be blowing games like Navarro had. And so that's a huge improvement for the Chicago Fire. So I think it's an excellent move here. Let's look at some of the numbers on this trade as well between these two players here. So in 2023, Andrew Gutman played 30 games, 12 for Colorado, 18 for Atlanta. He had a total of 4 goals and 5 assists, 31 shots, 9 shots on target. His average passing percentage is probably right around 80%. So not bad numbers for a left back, and considering the fact that his 4 goals are, right, considering Martin Heile-Selassie, I should say, was the highest scoring player on the Chicago Fire last season with 6 goals, having a left back come in with 4 goals and 5 assists ain't too bad. And you know what? If the Chicago Fire do get that DP striker that people so crave and that we hope they do sign, maybe that'll jack up Gutman's assist numbers. And he's, definitely an improvement in that sense. Now, looking at Miguel Navarro, his 2023 season, 25 games played, only 4 assists, 7 shots, none on target, and 75% passing completion rate. So you're definitely getting a better player statistic-wise over the last season, definitely over terms of their career. Considering Gutman came in 2019, he's got 10 goals and 10 assists throughout his MLS career. Miguel Navarro comes in 2020. He's just got 8 assists over the course of his career. The other thing to point out, last season, Navarro had 6 yellow cards. Gutman had 4 and a red. But career-wise, 16 yellows and a red for Gutman, 21 yellows and a red for Navarro. So you're getting a little bit more of a disciplined player. And I think now that Gutman is more proven, tried and true, and coming back home, hopefully he gets, I can't even say hopefully he's going to get some better coaching to maybe control some of those wild yellows, but we got Klopas back again, so who knows about that. Anyway, that is my take on this Gutman trade, the Miguel Navarro trade. Again, the money made perfect sense for Colorado to do it. They're gaining a player. The player upgrade made perfect sense for the Chicago Fire. Also, you're kind of building that goodwill, bringing back an academy player, youth player here. So makes sense all around. Now the Chicago Fire can turn their attention to adding a right back, maybe picking up another defensive midfielder, and of course, that ever-present need for a striker. Now, with that, we're going to take a quick sponsor break. I'm going to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by Skira Icelandic Spring Water. Icelandic for clear, Skira water comes from a spring in a government-protected nature preserve in Iceland with naturally low mineral content. This isn't your average water. Clearly, pun intended, it's one of the best. Get out to your local 7-Eleven, grab a couple bottles of Skira Icelandic Spring Water. You still got to stay hydrated in the wintertime. Bring a bottle or two as you're driving around making all your holiday plans. And please remember, support Skira as they have supported this show. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our featured guest, John Donovan, for his takes on all things MLS, Chicago Fire, and I really hope you enjoy this segment as much as I did. John, take it away. John, thank you so much again for your contributions to the show. As always, we really appreciate you taking the time to let us know just exactly how you're feeling on all things MLS and the Chicago Fire. And again, John's segment, as well as this show, brought to you by Skira Icelandic Spring Water, available at your local 7-Eleven. Now, as I teased at the beginning of the episode, this show is all about the money, 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 money. I won't sing again for you. You don't need to hear that from me. But what I do want to point out, first of all, Magellan Company returns as an official partner with the Chicago Fire. According to a recent press release, through a long-term multi-year agreement, Magellan returns as an official partner of the Fire, receiving integration across First Team, Matchday, and Chicago Fire Foundation programming. So be on the lookout for that Magellan logo all over the place. The Magellan Corporation sources, sells, and distributes specialty steels and other metallurgical products from the U.S. and around the world. So we got a great steel and Metal Company here. American industry, right? Heart of the Midwest here, supporting the Chicago Fire financially through this long-term official partnership. So the Fire got a little bit more money to play with there. So new director of business operations, is that his title? I forget. Dave Baldwin making moves after he comes into the seat. But the big news on the financial side and also on the fashion side, I suppose, is we have a new kit sponsor. No, not Harold's Chicken Shack, not Harold's, despite all the great graphics that have been floating around on CF97 Twitter. The new Chicago Fire kit sponsor, Carvana, the national car dealership, which apparently is now like up there as one of the top 5 car dealers or car auto sellers in the country at this point. I had realized they had gotten that big, considering they were just kind of the gimmick of the car elevator, right? You see those like 10-floor car elevators, you get your giant coin, you put in there, and it brings the car down for you like a gumball. I don't know how I feel about my cars coming from 10 floors up, but it's a shtick. It's a gimmick. It's a thing, right? So here the good news about this. Let me just read it straight from the press release. And it was a pretty long and flowery, praiseworthy of the deal press release from the Chicago Fire, but I'll get to the impact part here. Carvana will help bring fun, new, unexpected experiences. A lot of adjectives there, guys, right? A lot of adjectives. Fun, new, unexpected experiences to the fan community throughout the season. Carvana will partner with the Fire to create the Carvana Delivery Platform, which will be used to deliver special experiences to Chicago Fire season ticket members and community members. The Carvana Delivery Platform will provide 3 experiences. Most Valuable Parent Surprise and Delight, where fans will have the opportunity to nominate most valuable parents in the Chicago community. Okay, that's kind of cool. You're reaching out to people, reaching out to families. Probably realize that being a bad team in the city at Soldier Field with terrible parking and amenities and transportation, you're not getting as many families as you thought you would. So this is one way to market to that. Also, the at-home game delivery, where the Fire and Carvana will reward a family in need with the ultimate club viewing party. Awesome. You're going out to the community. I have always said the Chicago Fire needs to do suburbs watch parties. And while this isn't it, they're starting to get out into the community, especially identifying families in need. And season ticket member delivery, through which Carvana and the Fire will reward 5 club season ticket members with an annual gift. Additionally, Carvana will provide support to the Chicago Fire Foundation and their internationally recognized Plays, Participate, Learn, Achieve Youth Soccer program, designed to enhance the academic performance and development of key social and emotional skills of elementary school students through a sports-based curriculum to deliver soccer equipment to up to 60 Plays program schools. Okay, so there's the real meat of what this partnership is, right? So not only are the Fire getting a kit sponsor and probably getting a boatload of money for this, but Carvana is going to help them with 3 new kind of fan initiative programs, and then, of course, continue their work in the Plays program, which is commendable. And first of all, it's about time the Fire have a kit sponsor. I love the fact that it is a nationally recognized company. I'm not saying I would have been opposed to a local Chicago company or brand being on there, but the fact is now anyone who sees Carvana can associate that with the Chicago Fire across the country. Question is, do we want people associating Carvana with the Chicago Fire? Here's the drawback. The big drawback, that over the last several years it has come forth that Carvana has operated illegally in multiple states, including Illinois, and has had to settle numerous complaints and litigation from various secretaries of state, attorneys general, etc., private consumers. So basically, just to give you the brief of it all here, Carvana violated state laws because it didn't provide either good title to people who bought cars or would register those cars to out of state. Doesn't make any sense, right? If I'm in Illinois and I'm buying a car here, why is Carvana giving me a registration from New York? And it all kind of came to light when consumers were in one state buying a car and all of a sudden they get temporary plates from other states. And I'm sure when they were getting pulled over by police officers, getting written up for a number of different citations, all because they had temp plates even though from out of state, even though they live here in Illinois or whatever their home state is, right? So that was kind of the main thing. To make it worse, when the secretaries of state heard about this stuff from Carvana, they would suspend their business license. And so Carvana could not operate in those states. At least that was the theory. They couldn't operate legally, but Carvana continued to sell cars, provide registration, title, all that stuff. So they just compounded their errors there. In Illinois, they have been suspended twice and have had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their business license reinstated here in Illinois. And Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias even said, he's like, if they do it again, we'll suspend them again. I'm like, dude, you just love suspending them and getting that huge payday, don't you? Like, no teeth, man. No teeth. Like, you're gonna say you're for the consumers, and you're just gonna take the money and let Carvana continue its practices without any actual reform. But that is the backstory. Sorry, did I go political there for a second on a Chicago podcast? I don't think I went political. I just think I went legal, kind of. But that is the backstory with Carvana lately in the press. And these settlements in Illinois were as recent as a year ago, January of 2023, right? So it's not like this was something that happened when they first started and couldn't figure out how to run a business. This is something that's very recent. So again, I am so thrilled the Chicago Fire have a kit sponsor, have a national sponsor, and I know kit sponsor deals are money grabs. That's all they're there for. How much money will company A give us, and will company B give us more, and we'll slap their logo on it? You know, when are we going to start getting sleeve sponsors like the EPL's doing, right? Probably not too far in the future. Now that we actually got a kit sponsor, maybe the league will jump on, or maybe the league will make Adidas pay them more and put their logo on there if they're going to keep designing these uniforms. So I'm really positive in all that sort of thing. Not a fan of this particular sponsor because of all their legal problems, and do we want the Chicago Fire being associated with that? But at the end of the day, it's money. People are going to go out and buy the jerseys. Chicago Fire are going to rake in the dough. They're going to have these three new little programs for ticket holders and fans, and that's really what it comes down to. So again, not a huge fan of Carvana being the sponsor, but the way they've outlined it and the money it's bringing in and what they're going to do with it, I think it's a net positive, if you'll allow me to say that, for the Chicago Fire. So with that, fans, we're going to wrap up tonight's episode. Again, please follow along on Spotify, Feed the Fire podcast, as well as wherever you're getting your podcasts. Go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the videos. Make sure that way you can get the first notification, turn the notifications on when we put out our new videos. And by the way, for those fans who have known me going back to Sons of a Pitch, Soccer Central, Sons of a Pitch, an American soccer podcast going back 6 years or so, when I was working with my good friend Mike G, we've got a little bit of a reunion episode planned for the holidays here. So make sure, again, you're subscribing, following, sharing, growing the conversation of the sport, and that way you can hear all the great content we've got planned for you. And with that, as we say every show, let's go Fire.